You have $1.5 million and you're 63 wondering if you can retire. I'm going to show you exactly in this video my process on how I work with clients just like you to understand if you can retire, and not just if, but how you can optimize your retirement. Where do you pull income from first? How should you take Social Security? Does it make sense to implement certain tax planning opportunities? All of this I'm going to be talking about in today's video so that by the very end you will know exactly how you can maximize your retirement. Once again, I'm Taublieb, a financial planner. I love what I do. I am the youngest financial planner who loves retirement planning. So let's hop right into the video, and as a reminder, what we're going to work through is exactly how you can maximize your retirement. Now when you hear that, tell me in the comments below, what do you think maximize retirement means? To me, it means a successful life with more financial freedom in the sense that you don't have to worry about money, with more freedom knowing, hey, I have someone in my corner taking care of my tax liability. I have someone going, yes, this is how my investment should be allocated. So there's a financial freedom that comes with having a strategy and a plan. And if you come away with anything from this video, it's the confidence to do exactly that. And also to know, what does maximize retirement mean? And you might have heard of this. I apologize. A lot of my clients watch these videos, and if you have to hear this again, I'm sorry, but I hope other people take value from it. And I can already hear a few of you laughing. Is what I want you to do when you think of a successful retirement is think about, it's not about how much you save in taxes. It's not about how much money you make in your portfolio. It's about doing more of what you want to do. It's about having more time. So let's hop right into exactly, if you have $1.5 million, you're 63, what should you be thinking about? Well, number one is, how much do you want to spend? Let's assume you want to spend $100,000 per year in retirement. And your first worry might be am I going to run out of money? And here's how I'm going to think through that process. Is if you want $100,000 per year, I'm going to adjust that for inflation, and I'm going to assume that that is after taxes. Now there's a whole lot more I know that I can go with that, but just a basic example. Let's assume you want to do that. Well, the average market downturn is 2 years, 2 to 2.5 to be exact. So I say let's double it. Let's have 5 years of conservative investments at all times. Well, assuming we're invested right and getting certain growth, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment, that's certainly a consideration. But before we even look at investing in taxes, if you want $100,000 per year, adjusted for inflation after taxes, what we need to make sure you have is that on the side, so that if your investments go down, well, we don't care because we have enough to pull from. We don't have to worry about what's going on MSNBC or CNN or Fox because we have a plan. We know where income's going to come from, and we're not going to realize that loss on our investments. So going back to this example, you have $1.5 million, you're 63, and you want to have $100,000 every year. Great, let's have 5 years of living expenses. That's $500,000. So if we want $500,000, we need that in a conservative investment, either cash, bonds, adjusted inflation securities, something like that, very safe that we can pull from when the market does a downturn. And yes, I'm very intentional with my words. It's when, not if, because it will take downturns in retirement, and you will not have to worry if you have a plan. So with that $500,000, looking at this very basic, $500,000 should be in conservative investments. $1 million should be growing for you. Now, what we need to make sure is happening here, that $1 million, we need to make sure it's growing for you. That needs to be outpacing inflation. So you might have heard of the 60-40 portfolio. To me, what that is saying, well, to everyone, is that 60% equities, 40% stocks. It was almost the, hey, this is the best portfolio for everyone. And it's not, and I will argue heavily against that, and here's why. 60-40 portfolio knows nothing about what you want out of your life. It knows nothing about your legacy goals. It knows nothing about how much you want to spend maybe in the early years of retirement. It does not tell you anything about your tax situation. A 60-40 portfolio should be a basis for a conversation, in my opinion. Controversial, I know. But 60-40 is just a basis. So when I look at, hey, what's the right amount to make sure you never run out of money? Number one, nothing to do with 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, none of that. What is the custom mix for you? That's what I want to know. So if we look at this basic example, and we're not even looking at other income sources, by the way, if we just look at this, I want half of that 500,000. I want that in safe investments to pull from, and then I want $1 million in investments that are outpacing inflation. Historically, stocks have been best to do that. Real estate can be an option as well. But those are what I'm thinking through on that end. Now, are you getting the proper growth that you need? So you have 1.5 million, you're age 63. Well, you might be hearing this going, Ari, I'm about to retire. Do I need to have any amount in stocks? I need to make sure I don't lose my money. Well, what I would tell you is that I agree. If you lose your money and you have too much in stocks, you're playing a big risk in retirement. How do we avoid that? We have the right balance. So that's going back to my point number one. What's the right amount in conservative investments, so no matter what happens, you can pull from it, and enough in growing investments so that you make sure you don't be really, really confident in the first few years of retirement, and the latter years are not as fun because we're worried we're going to run out of money. So those are the two risks in retirement. Now, the next thing is, are you getting the growth? Meaning, how are you invested? That $1 million, even that $500,000, how is that invested? Because if we're just invested in bonds, well, all of a sudden we're not going to get that growth. If we're too heavily invested in stocks, we're going to be subjecting ourselves to excess risk. So how do we make sure we have that right balance of stocks to bonds? But taking a step further, how do we make sure that we have the right types of stocks, the right types of bonds? So that's very important. The third thing is tax planning. When it comes to retirement income, never running out of money, and also maximizing your retirement, absolutely doing what you want more of, that's another way of saying that, is that $100,000, that's assuming that's after taxes. So if that 1.5 is in an IRA, which I imagine it's in an IRA or a 401k, well, we need to make sure we end up with the equivalent of $100,000. Do we need to pull 120 or 140 to end up with 100,000? A massive consideration here, which means you might very well may be able to do exactly that. But where are there income sources playing a role here? When it comes to Social Security and you're wondering when should you collect, how does that impact your overall plan? Well, if you need income to live off of, then it's an easy decision. You need to pull that income now to meet your living expenses. But I'm guessing that's not you. I'm guessing you want to optimize your retirement income. And so at age 63, you have the eligibility to collect, of course. You could have collected 1 year prior. But the question to ask yourself is, when are you planning on passing? And I know that sounds really, really dark, but here's why I'm asking that. If you think life expectancy is not the best in your household, especially with you, well, all of a sudden, if you're going to pass away at age 71, just as a very dark example here, you would only get 8 years of income if you collected today if you're 63. Because I want you to maximize your benefit, I want you to think about, what is life expectancy like? If it's into your late 80s, late 90s, well, it might make sense to delay to make sure we're getting more of that benefit. I don't want you to pass away having paid into Social Security, not really getting to reap the benefits of such. So that's what I'm thinking through with Social Security. But for my basic example, let's assume, call it 30,000 years coming in from Social Security. That $100,000 per year is what I mentioned before. So now you don't need 100,000 from your portfolio. You need 70 to supplement Social Security. So 30,000 from Social Security, 70,000 coming from your portfolio. Questions to ask yourself. Is that 70,000 coming from an IRA, a Roth IRA, a 401k, a brokerage account? Where is it coming from? What accounts do you pull from first? Well, first, what you want to know is, what are the tax implications? Social Security, for example, is taxed at the federal level, but every state is different. So look at the taxes of what you're trying to do, meaning your IRAs. If you pull from those, what are the tax implications? I have a planning process. I help clients determine exactly what that is, as well as with Social Security. What are the taxes involved in doing that? You want to make sure taxes, which is likely one of your biggest expenses in retirement, is being minimized as much as possible. It's great to be patriotic, but you don't want to pay any more taxes than you need to. So those are three big considerations when you're wondering, if you have 1.5 million, you're 63, can you retire? The answer is, it depends. Now, it depends doesn't really help you. What does help you is a strategy, and the strategy is, where do you pull income from first? Well, very first, what I even look at is there cash we can pull from, allowing us to have more time to implement tax strategies like Roth conversions. Wonderful. If we can do that, let's pull from there first. If not, does it make more sense to pull from an IRA before a Roth IRA? That very well may make most sense. That's a mouthful, because the Roth IRA is your best account. You want to have that growing tax-free forever. So what we want to know is, how can we be most effectively where we pull income from? And where are those investments? What types of accounts? How are we minimizing our tax bill? Do we have the right insurance in place? Do we have an estate plan? Is our home in a trust? All of these very important things that financial planners who do comprehensive planning, like me, do. So please reach out to me, or reach out to a member of my team or another planner, if not our team, to understand exactly how you can create this plan in retirement. This is what we do. We love doing it. Now, I want to leave you with 3 bonus tips when it comes to imagine this is you're 63 with $1.5 million. What else should you be considering? I call it that what else because there's so much in financial planning that if I don't boil it down to a few things, I find people don't take action. So this is what I do on my podcast, the Early Retirement Podcast, and people tell me it's helpful when I give them a few action points. So here's what I want to give you. Number 1, determine what you want to spend in retirement. You don't need an exact number. Some people go, yes, I want to make sure I spend this. Other people go, Ari, I haven't really thought through what domestic travel looks like. I've been putting off these big trips to Europe or to Asia. I want to make sure I do that, but I'm not going to do that every year in retirement. So how do I factor that into the plan? Well, one-off expenses are going to happen. They happen to everyone, but we want to make sure we're planning on X number for how many years. If you want to travel internationally for 5 years, wonderful. Right when you retire, let's plan for that. But let's not keep that into the plan because all of a sudden we would be planning inaccurately. So it's not about being 100% spot on with your retirement expenses. It's about saying have a general sense so that we can come back to you and show you exactly, if you go through a planning process with us or another planner, how that impacts your overall plan. So that's number 1. How much do you want to spend? Number 2 is, are your investments allocated correctly? Do you have the right mix in conservative investments so you can pull from cash or bonds or other safe investments when the market's doing what it's doing, which is not fun? And do you have enough in investments over here that are growing for you, outpacing inflation, so that in the latter years of retirement, you never have to worry about running out of money? Do you have the right mix of stocks and bonds? And of the stocks and bonds that you own, do you own the right types of mutual funds, the right types of ETFs, the right types of stocks? Those are the questions to ask yourself. And then the very last one is, what is a successful retirement to you? Really dream big. Is there a certain car that you want? Is there a lake home that you said, I've been dying to get this. This is my dream. What are the different trade-offs? What are your dreams? Because what a planner like myself does, I don't tell you what to buy and what not to buy. What I tell you is exactly what the trade-offs are. If you work a little longer, great, you might be able to spend more in retirement. I might tell you that and you might go, that's not of any interest to me. I'm much more interested in working less because I don't love what I do. Also, great, if you don't love what you do, that's wonderful. No problem. Let's get you to retire early, but let's also make sure, what does the implications of that really mean in the latter years of retirement? Because we want to understand in the latter years of retirement, what does spending look like? What if there is a healthcare event? What if you want to do certain charitable giving? What do you care about most? How do we let your money align with that? Ultimately, it's not the money we care about. What we care about is a successful life. It's simply the money that we use to do just that. So that's it for today's video. Ultimately, retirement planning is all about confidence. How can you have the right plan, the right strategy to implement what you care about most? This is what I love doing. Once again, you can reach out to myself or another member of our team. We would be happy to help you. And then lastly, it's more fun to retire together. Share this with a friend, with a family member, with someone who you want to feel really confident going into retirement. That is it for today's video. Thank you. Please like this video if not already, and you can always comment what video topic you want in the next video. I personally go in there and I reply to all of those comments. I will see you in the comments, and I'll see you at the next video.